Welcome to the Play at 3 podcast. I'm your host, Tisha Poncio, and I am here with my co-host, Rick, who today is showing up, I believe, in a hockey jersey. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
The way you got uncomfortable.
Well, it was more the fact that how you said my name, Rick. I know that we keep saying about every time that we're on a podcast where it's just you and I, we talk about how you say Rick. I think that was the most enthusiastic
I got
ever.
better. I've been practicing,
It's a huge step up. I can tell you've been practicing daily.
I have been. I actually, yes, ChatGPT and we talk about how to improve the introduction daily. I think you probably think I'm joking, but I actually have ChatGPT
I don't think you're
coach
joking.
me with public speaking and the way that I can articulate certain things better because of my neurodivergent brain.
To bring some context into this and understanding for those that aren't actually maybe using ChatGPT in just a text format, and also being dyslexic and trying to understand how to create something that has been written into a more reality-focused creative experience. How do you go about improving your way of presenting with ChatGPT?
So I will use the audio version. For me, that works better because I enable the audio on ChatGPT so that I can verbalize what I'm trying to say. And I have gone into ChatGPT and I'll even read it to you. I'll read what I have put into the personalizations of it. So you can kind of understand, and then I'll walk you through the process of how I've done that.
Just so I know, the audio version is where you see people having like actual conversations with ChatGPT, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So like I'm able to speak and it's hearing me. And interestingly enough, now that you brought that up, the other day I was at the post office. It was Veterans Day, so the post offices here were closed, and I was going to check my mail at my PO box, and there was a lady there. She spoke Spanish, and naturally everybody assumes that I can speak Spanish, which I do wish I could. It is on my new bucket list.
Your new bucket list?
Learn to speak another language, specifically Spanish. And I knew she needed help. I could tell that much, and I could speak Spanish, but very limited. So I opened ChatGPT up and said, "Hey, I'm here at the post office with someone. She doesn't speak English. I would really like to communicate with her. Can I tell you what I want to say to her, and you change the language and speak to her for me?" And so I communicated to her to speak into my phone in the language and ask me the question. And so when she did that, ChatGPT translated it and said it back to me. And then I was able to tell ChatGPT, please tell her this. The post office is closed. Today's a holiday. It'll be open again tomorrow, 8 a.m. And so ChatGPT told her that in her language, knew exactly what her language was. And it took 3 minutes or less, and I was able to communicate. And I think there's such a bad rap around technology, as there always has been, but there's so much good. Here's what I put in my instructions for ChatGPT, which you might find interesting. Or not. You are an expert who double checks things. You are skeptical and you do research. I'm not always right, and neither are you, but we will both strive for accuracy. Act as if you're my personal assistant, always giving me action items to support what I have asked and accommodating for my ADHD. Spot any moments where you see this in my question. So this part is a little bit personal. And if it makes sense, point this out to me so that I can become more aware and change behavior. So I just went into ChatGPT and created a new chat, but in the bottom right-hand corner of the app is a little voice icon, and I just clicked it and I said, "Hey, sorry, excuse me." Sorry.
First sneeze of the podcast.
That was the first one in the whole season. Yes, we should get bingo cards out for that. That was unexpected. So anyway, I tell ChatGPT, I have difficulty articulating this particular thing. Can you coach me to clearly say what I want to say? And so it'll repeat back what I've said. It will summarize what I've said and make it sound less confusing than how I have said it because my brain jumbles things up. And then it will practice with me and kind of guide me through what to say. So when I say, help me improve my introduction for Rick, here's how I've been saying it and here's why, and I want to say it better. So it will walk me through that. So essentially, I think everybody, you can reject the idea, but everybody has a personal assistant, personal coach in ChatGPT to essentially, I'm sure would help me speak Spanish, learn to speak Spanish if I wanted, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't know. That's what I have, and I don't know how we got on that topic. Oh, because of my intro, my intro for you. That was
Yep.
it.
We will always throw a curveball with these podcasts every single time. But you have a particular direction for today's episode, though,
Yes,
which is not our normal approach. Because, like, we
it's
either
not.
have a guest on where we're talking
Yes,
about particular things,
yes,
or we tend to have a script set up
yes.
like usually a couple of days
We
in
discuss
advance, don't
it.
we? We
We have a
discuss it, we
loose
go through
idea.
things. And the thing is, we had an idea for this podcast, but our neurodivergent brains have completely forgotten where it's gone.
I mean, I kind
It
of
was
knew.
written down.
I did know, but I think this is going to be more fun for our listeners. And I'm
Yeah,
always thinking about what's going to be fun for them to listen to. And
and beneficial.
yeah, so this episode, we're going to start a little recurring play at 3 episode segment, if you will, where Rick and I each bring 2 stories that will reveal something about life, leadership, or learning. We are calling this segment What the World Taught Us This Week. I just love the title. What the World Taught Us this week.
It's a good
There's
title.
a lot going on in the world. But the caveat here is that it's going to be something that is around tech, education, human stories, joy, science, the science of learning, creativity, well-being, fun facts, things like that. We're each going to have 2 stories. And there's a little bit of a rule. It's like a 90-90 format. So we get to share the story. We'll take turns. And in 90 seconds, we have to summarize it. I will be setting a timer for both Rick and myself.
Hmm.
Um, and in that summary, we're going to talk about, well, what happened? Why is it interesting? Who does it impact? You have to be finished when the timer stops. And then we get 90 seconds to debate the person who brought the story to the forefront or agree and together answer, what is it teaching us about life? What is it teaching us about learning or leadership? And how's it going to shape the future of learning or schools or humans or relationships? And then if you disagree, we have to explore why. So that might be another, 30 seconds or something. And then we're going to end each story with a 1-sentence takeaway, just so that we can sort of wrap it up in a nice, pretty velvet red bow. It's my favorite
Yep,
color.
it is.
Um, Keep it joyful and curious. See, here's the thing. This is the rule. We're not going to go into heavy political stories. And so my ChatGPT, what did it calls Rick stoic, which makes me laugh so hard because I didn't tell ChatGPT that you were stoic. I don't know where it got that idea, but it was like, it'll be so good to segment your education background with Rick's stoic perspective. So no heavy political content, and we want to evoke, like always, curiosity, critical thinking, empowerment, creativity, innovation, or just simply joy. So I have 2 stories, and I always change my own rules. I have 2 stories and a quote, and this quote is actually inspired by someone, and we can end with that because this quote is really interesting. I have 2 quotes, actually. A quote that someone sent me earlier today
Hmm.
from a neurodivergent female perspective, and I had a book on my desk that I opened, and the quote that is underlined is like almost identical to what this listener sent me, and I want to highlight that. So that's my little welcome to the Play at 3 podcast with Rick and Tisha. Okay, Rick. I just like highlighting
Ah,
people. I love
I
people,
know
and I
you do.
love when they send me messages or ask me to talk about something that's important to them. So I want to give that some time.
Absolutely. Completely agree
Okay.
with you.
Well, who gets to
Completely
go
agree with
first?
you.
Should we flip a coin?
I yeah, I've already flipped it. It's you.
Okay. I have to go find the links to my stories. Give me 2 seconds.
So this is the thing with, again, we sound like we're prepared.
We are
We're
prepared. I just have
really not.
No, I'm really
No,
prepared.
no, don't give yourself
I
credit where
didn't
credit isn't
where credit
available.
isn't due. I know what my
Yeah,
story is. I want to be able to cite my
but
source.
at the same time,
This
I
is so
mean, we're
sad.
10 minutes into this episode and we
You
actually thought of this 10 minutes before we started to record. So we're 20 minutes into planning. So essentially, what you're getting from this episode of the podcast is the behind the scenes episode of how we actually plan these episodes.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. We'll go with that.
It is a
Um,
very unplanned episode, and
well, I'm having trouble finding my story because it is blocking me from seeing my story. It's so sad.
the biggest problem that I've had when it's come to actually finding stories, um, this again, we've talked about this many times. There's so much in regards to AI
Oh, so much.
that just swamps everything. So you
It's
start to
really
find that it's like a
frustrating.
needle in a haystack,
Yeah, wouldn't you
which is a
say?
great start for us to for this segment of our podcast to be
Well, what's so
struggling to
interesting.
find information.
It's
Like,
right? Struggling to find information in the world of information and data that's overrunning our days, our lives, our time, our minds, our screens. This is interesting because I specifically was asking for some specific stories right now in this day of the world. And ChatGPT apparently doesn't understand that. Uh
I love how we're using AI and all we're getting is AI news.
that's what
Do
I'm
you think do you
saying, and
think it's
maybe
like
this.
how Facebook went and fed key information to, in a sense, manipulate?
Oh, talk
Could
about that. Talk
ChatGPT
about
try
that
and
actually while I am now searching for my.
so we all know that Facebook and probably all the other social media platforms or tools out there that want your attention, they were feeding you information that would invoke psychological
Mhm.
emotions that would keep you on the app, or at least engaging more in the app as much as possible, because that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
And what if ChatGPT is doing the same thing?
Well,
It's an
wouldn't
AI that's going to want to push more positive narratives of AI to get you to continue to use AI.
dead silence.
Dead silence.
It's because I think you might be right, and I have said that. So it's like, don't you think that the knowledge you have to have in the future is going to be how to not only navigate and manage AI, knowing the
hmm
prompts to tell AI so it will output what you want. But then it's as if you have to do an extra step. So it gives you the information. Now you also have to go to other places and still vet the information. So I feel like I'm still in high school where I would have to go to the library and have like 3
Yes.
resources, and one would say one thing and one would say the other, and now I'm having to critically think through exactly what I'm wanting.
Yes.
So I
Which is why I think AI is far better when the information that's being provided to it is from ourselves. It's so when what I
say
mean
that
by
again.
is so if I'm using AI for myself,
Mhm.
but I'm only allowing it to use the content that I have provided to
So you
it.
can set that inside of your AI tools, right? There is a setting where you can say, "Give me the information and answers from the whole," or just give me information and answers from what I have given.
Yeah. So, but I mean, trying to only focus it on if I provide it with 100 documents, only want to source stuff from these 100 documents,
Yes.
nothing else,
Yes.
and keeping it localized. And I think that's the problem that we have so much right now is we are essentially not filtering it in any shape or form. Like we can
Mhm.
say, oh yeah, you are an expert in this and I want you to give me responses in this. It's still not filtering anything.
Mhm.
You're just giving it a status, a level to be at, to be a little bit more focused on one area, but it's still going to have everything available to it and it can end up giving you false information.
Yeah. I just told ChatGPT, "Please give me more because these suck." I mean, yes. I don't know. It's just really interesting. Okay, the answer it gave me was updated and way better stories.
And let me guess, it
Mm.
just basically gave you the same stories, but
No,
in different
it gave me
formats.
new ones, which I think might be fun to talk about. And some of the stories that it gave me before are really good, but like I don't really love sharing stories unless I can cite the source. And
Yes,
the
I agree with you.
source I will share this story because I do think it's really a good one. And it isn't from recent, it's not from this week, but since this is our podcast for the week, we can pretend like it is. It was from earlier this year. And so I'm going to read it to you.
Mhm.
Like I'll tell you the summary of it in 90 seconds. Do you want to start your timer so that you can keep me on track, or do you want me to time it?
I will have my timer ready and
Okay.
waiting for you.
Okay.
So, sorry, I'm sure something just fell in front of me and I have no idea what it was or where it went. Anyway,
Yeah, whoever's watching, Rick is just looking around.
aimlessly.
Okay. Um,
So, you have mm, 90 seconds
okay.
starting now.
So, did you know a small school in Australia is using robotics to boost inclusion and joy? And what they're doing, there is a young boy with autism, and to get him out of his shell, they are using coding and teamwork and tech and robotics. So, their project was to simulate rescuing a victim from a chemical spill. And so they were going to program robots to do that so that one, it was really fun and exciting, but also it's solving a serious problem. Um, I think that is just it's such a good role. It's such a good model because it's including him in this process. The students are learning something about technology and they're solving a problem that is much bigger than the four walls of that classroom.
Mhm.
How did I do?
That's well, you did that in just over a minute. No, under a minute.
Yeah, I did. I've been
My
practicing my
goodness.
public speaking. I'm just
Did
kidding.
ChatGPT help you there?
No, no. So what do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have questions? What do you wanna
I
know?
mean,
Set the timer,
what am I
though.
agreeing or disagreeing with?
Well, you can debate this story and its benefit to the world, I guess, if you wanted.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with the benefits of
Well, what do you think it
more
can teach
hands-on
us then?
scenario. Well, this goes back to everything that we pushed with the book was this idea of give me real-world situations where I'm actually going to learn something that is more relatable.
Mm.
Because you just explained they gave them a situation and they had to
Mhm.
use robotics to solve that problem.
Mhm, mhm.
And this is exactly the same thing that we want to encourage in others is to provide real world examples for any project based learning tasks.
Well, I think the
And
the important thing and what I love about this story is that, neurodivergence in general and autism, there is a lot of like, I remember just being in school, not feeling like I fit in because my brain didn't work like everybody else's, and then I became a teacher who taught students with autism and ADHD,
mhm,
sometimes combined, sometimes separately, and I watched the other kids not be inclusive. And I tried really hard to create an inclusive environment in my classroom, and I do think that this is still happening. I think work environments, places where adults are not just kids, there is difficulty for inclusion. So the fact that this
Mm,
is happening at such a young age in a school, I just wish more people would do that. I would love to hear more stories like this, but you just don't hear many stories, which is why we pulled. That's our timer.
that's
That was our
Tisha's timer.
timer. That was my timer for us discussing what it's teaching us. So, but I think we love that story, and I wish I could
Right,
see more. Well,
let's
we have to do one punchy
you know,
sentence.
okay.
That's the
What's a punchy
rule.
sentence?
What you tell me? What's a punchy sentence for this? Okay, I'll do it.
It's oh my god, it's the classic. Rick, what would you actually say in this situation? Give
Stoic.
me a split second. Stop calling me stoic.
Sorry. I can't help I don't know where ChatGPT got it. It makes me laugh. No, you're
You've
right. That's
clearly hold on. You've clearly inputted something into
no, there's
ChatGPT
no
where it thinks I'm
way
stoic.
that you're serious. I think the punchy sentence here is why aren't more schools doing this? Why
Yeah,
aren't more places of employment doing inclusion in this way?
yeah.
Okay, well, it's your turn for your news story. Let me set your timer. Okay. You can go.
I know I can.
Wait, I already started your timer.
I know. You literally just
I
kicked me off without being
thought you were
prepared, but
ready.
I'm literally gonna go straight in because I'm already 15 seconds in.
You are.
Um, so online and augmented, augmented reality learning at US schools. So basically, a US online school uses global virtual classmates and augmented reality to let
Ooh,
students step into a
yes.
virtual lab,
I like it.
exploring things like the human heart, etc. The approach emphasizes that technology can accelerate personalized pathways and higher order thinking.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think this is very, very powerful because it goes back to what you were saying about giving real world examples, but how can we enhance the experiences for students
Mhm.
in ways that we've never done before? And things like virtual reality and even artificial reality, extended reality, this technology, which is, in my opinion, is really not being utilized to its fullest yet, in my opinion. And the alarm's going to go off in 5 seconds.
Yeah, you could see my phone.
Yeah.
So I guess that's your summary.
I mean, that's my summary with a little bit of explanation from my side as well. So I've kind of
Well, I agree. I don't debate the story. I agree with the story. What I do debate is I debate the idea that we have to do something magnificent and overthink a project and I just we don't have to overplan something in order for it to be effective. And I believe that across the board,
Mhm.
especially in a classroom with students, but I believe it in the adult world too. We could spend so much time. I could spend so much time planning a lesson and even
Yeah.
bringing in some of the virtual reality. I did that in my classroom. And we could spend so much time around that, planning it, sorting it, showing the data on the test scores because of it, writing out the learning objectives, et cetera, et cetera. And it could fail flat on its
Backside
yeah.
to
And
keep it
then
PG.
and then I could not have a plan that I've really well thought out, but it could be the most effective lesson for my students
This, but
because I didn't orchestrate all of those bits, right?
but this goes back
Life
to the
doesn't work
whole
that
thing
way.
that Brian was saying last week.
Mhm.
That just do it. Post that
Well,
video.
so I think that's interesting, but I mean, in our experience in ed tech and corporate in the adult world, would you
Uh-huh.
say that the majority of companies and you as a co-founder, you would just do something? Or do you feel like you have to have 14 different strategies listed out with your KPIs and all of your measurements and all of your things and all of your validations and a slide
If
deck
you're
to go
looking at
with
it
it?
if you're looking at it from a corporate side, then KPIs, all that kind of stuff, is going to be the blocker to it because the whole why. Now, this goes back to the whole idea of, well, what companies should be doing in any environment. And we all understand that
But it's the
companies have
same
got
thing for
targets to get.
schools. It's
Yeah,
the
it's the
same thing
same
for
thing, but
schools. They have
it's the
targets to
same.
get.
Yeah, I'm not
We're gonna
disputing that. I'm
argue.
not disputing.
We're
We
gonna
are going to
argue.
argue, but I don't think we're going to argue on the ways that we normally argue. I think we always look at it that there's always these targets to hit. There's always got to be maintained. I don't care about your little
No,
timer now. I'm gonna break the mold.
you
Um,
guys, I set the rules and he has now broken them.
I'm breaking the mold. Corporations and schools have targets to meet. I completely agree with that. But the problem is we get too fixated on the goals and
I
the
agree.
targets and don't allow evolution. So when we're
I think you're
saying about
100% right.
the whole,
Yes.
yeah, and this is where we're going to agree. The whole approach of we have an idea, we want to move forward to it with it, but we're resistant. And it's not just KPIs, it's not just targets, not
Well,
just
it's
what
in
the
schools
company or
too.
school wanted. No, I'm
Oh,
saying that it's not just in those, it's in ourselves as well,
okay.
where we become resistant and question. I've done it. I've thought this would be a great idea, and then my mind has basically made me go back on it and
Think
go,
about all the brilliant
maybe it might
things
not
that
work.
could have happened if we just would have done it without all of
Exactly.
that.
And we also need the opportunities to do it.
And how do
So
you
when I'm
even
saying that
find
is
historical data on something if you have nothing else to go on, if it's never been done? So you have to
exactly,
essentially, at a certain point, do something
give
without the
people
plan.
freedom.
And you're right. It's what Brian said last week. What was it? I don't even know. I wrote all these notes down, but he said it's that learning loop, right? It's the
Yes.
competence loop. We talk about that in our book.
Yes.
You have to have something to start from
Uh-huh.
so that you can reflect on it. But if nothing has ever been done in that way before,
Yep. Then you're not going to be able to do it. And that's the
then
thing.
you're
You
just going
need
to be stuck.
how good would it be going from your teaching background, Tish,
Hmm.
and I know from a corporate background that this is powerful. Giving people 1 day a week
Oh,
to be
yes.
creative.
So I did that in my classroom. I have said this. This is a value that I have had since I was in the classroom early on. And I didn't call it that. But what I
Mm-hmm.
did do is in my classroom, I would structure my entire week. And I always plan backwards. Everything is backwards. And that seems to be difficult for a lot of people. I've learned over the years, I am going to plan backwards. I am going to
I'm
write a
one of them.
handbook for my class before I ever implement. I'm going to write the handbook. I'm going to have the structure. I'm going to have the syllabus essentially before I ever do anything else. And that is just how my brain works. That's
Yep.
how I was taught as an educator. So I would structure my calendar, my school calendar backwards, and I intentionally left Fridays open. And I
Mm.
will tell you, I got pushback from teachers and administrators all the time, but I'm always going to go back to what I've
Why?
always said. People first. People now, my motto is people, pedagogy, product. Back then, it was my students. They were humans. So the
Mm-hmm.
people first. The learning objectives were next. And then all the state testing and all the rules that I had to follow essentially came after that. But you're going to ask me a question.
Yeah, I am. Why do you think you got pushback? Do you know why?
You It's human nature to push back on something that you A, don't understand. B, we're going back to that. I can't quantify that, Tisha. I can't. How is that going to help? How do you quantify that Friday genius hour, genius day, creativity day is going to improve their performance on the test in May? Well, if nobody's ever done it here, I've got no data. So I've got to start somewhere.
Well,
And it was really just my passion pushing back on it.
yeah, I mean, my biggest thing with it all is, um, if people are wanting to or people are listening to this and thinking, why should I actually do this in my school or classroom or whatever it is,
Or organization, yeah.
or organization? Think of it this way. If you're having to do the same thing every single day, 5 days a week,
Yeah. Your
are
brain
you
isn't
going to
wired for
get
that.
sick of it?
Well, right, but in the brain science world, your brain was never created to do that. I talk about that a lot. Our brains and our students' brains were not built to literally walk into a school at 8 a.m., sit in a desk for 8 hours a day, listen to somebody talking at them, and then walking out. Our brains were not created for that. And we talk about this in our book a lot. It's the systems, it's the mindset around that. The one day a week, taking one day out of the week, I would bring in games. I would
Mm-hmm.
bring in thinking games. So
Yes.
they loved Cranium. They loved card games with strategy. I would
Mm-hmm.
bring in games on a Friday, and I would say, essentially, I would set it up, on Fridays, here's my belief. I want you to have a brain break. I believe that that's going to increase your productivity for the rest of next week. I need you to rest your brain. Here's how we're going to do that. And so every week it was something different, and they came to expect that. Well, that did a couple of things. Not only did their brain rest in that
Mm-hmm.
one class period and probably set them up for success after they left that classroom of mine,
Yep.
but it also created camaraderie, friendship, a culture of belonging, a culture of laughter and joy. And I will, this is a hill I will die on. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're in a corporate environment, a startup environment, a school, an admin at a school. You're going to get me on my soapbox, but I believe in it so much. And this is why we called the podcast Play Ed 3 Podcast. If you are going to work or school or somewhere every single day and you are not finding joy and laughter and play and creativity, and there is no time for it, and you're not creating that time for yourself when you're away from those places, what is the point of life?
I have a feeling we're going to change the title of this video.
I didn't mean to, but it kind
No,
of
but
leads in, because
you.
Brian said it, on the previous week's podcast. He talked about the work-life balance and how if you're not
Mm-hmm.
finding that, he told you like that's not good. Well,
Yes,
essentially, you were just mimicking and mirroring what you were experiencing from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. So you were just bringing that home and doing a whole second shift.
exactly.
So many companies and organizations and schools work that way. And if they tell you they don't, all you have to do is start talking to the people in there. You will find very quickly what the expectations are of a teacher in a school based
Exactly.
on what are they doing on a Saturday night or a Sunday night. If they're crying on a Sunday night, that's a bigger issue. If they
Yes.
are working Saturday morning through Saturday night after working a whole 5 days, and your
Mm-hmm.
expectation is also for them to be on committees and show up for 2 extra hours after school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you see that is an unspoken expectation,
Yep.
and I don't believe in it. I don't believe that's how anybody's going to make more money or make the world a better place. I stand on that. I will fight you on it.
That's absolutely fine. You're more than welcome to find me because I'm going to be on the same side as you. Could cause a bit of a problem if we're on the same side fighting each other. That's the only thing
Right.
I'm a bit worried
Well,
about.
sometimes
But
people do that too.
they do. They do. Yes, I
Okay,
completely
it's
agree.
my turn for story.
Okay. Okay. Go on.
I have a couple, and I'm really frustrated with my stories right now. Okay. You have to set the timer though, because that one we went way off the deep end. This is why we have timers, because you and I
And it's
cannot.
why we're neurodivergent. We do not stick
Time
to.
blindness. Okay.
It's not
Here's
time blindness. It's just we don't stick to the status quo. We do what we want because we believe things need to be not in a set structure, like what we
okay.
just
You're
argued.
right. You're right. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
So
it's
let
timer
me
starting.
don't start it. Yes, I have to see. Yeah, I need to see if if my
Hey, do you
URL is
want a funny
actually under
story?
a.
Do you want a funny story?
Yeah.
So I have a
Oh my
if
God.
you are
Page is not
watching the
found.
podcast, you can see that I have a light behind me, colored light, which I can change.
Stop.
And I have the classic little remote thing, nothing fancy. And I did the classic thing of I thought this plastic sheet was actually on the remote and not a plastic sheet just for protection because it just peeled off. And now it's all nice
What
and shiny
what are
underneath.
you doing? You're having issues over
Fiddling.
there. Every single my American Psychological Association, this page is not available. So my article is not available and it's really frustrating me. Um because my story is a good one. So let me just search the title. It says it wasn't on a breaking news site. There's just
Shall
lots
I,
of stories
if
around
you're
it.
struggling with yours, can I just,
Go
it's not as
again?
necessarily a story that I found, but it's my own opinion.
Okay. No. That wasn't
It's
the
my
wrong.
opinion of situations that have been going on,
Okay,
and I think has
this
the
is
power to
okay.
be beneficial to
Well,
others.
I'm ready. I'm ready for mine. I'm ready.
Oh, all right then.
Okay.
I will hold on to my amazing story for after
Okay,
yours.
so global study, and I will find more research to back this and put it in the episode notes, but daily kindness boosts student resilience and belonging. And there are lots of stories out there. I finally found one that is published, talking just
Lots of
about,
stories out there, and you found one.
well, because I didn't want to, I'm on a timer. Didn't you set the timer?
I already have, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't have time to go find it, but and this is something that we brought up in Brian's, episode for last episode, so if you haven't listened to Brian's episode, you need to go listen to it, but one of the things we talked about was by helping others, you're helping yourself. In helping others and being kind to other people, you are actually the one to benefit. And I feel like in this world these days, there's so many people who are so resistant and even in this energy of refusal to help other people. And it is
Mm.
mind-blowing to me because I believe that helping other people, being kind is not only helping you live longer, but it's helping them live longer.
I like that. I like that. Because
Did
as
I get
well, I
under
look at,
did I get under my time?
yeah, you got under your time by 20 seconds.
Amazing.
I did interrupt you, so I'll add an extra 5 seconds to that as well.
Okay, great.
Um, yeah, I completely agree with that approach. Um, I think as well, one thing I that makes me wonder when we say about helping others,
Mhm.
I feel like the first things that kind of come to my mind is like helping somebody move, a random person help someone move house that you've never
That's
met
funny.
before,
In Texas,
or
we
some
do that, actually. We do that.
a random
Texans
complete stranger. You're just
Texas
driving
will
down a
yes,
block.
absolutely.
You're 30 minutes
Yes.
down the road and you'd help someone.
Yes. So, I'll give you
Okay.
some I'm gonna give you some examples of that, and especially in rural small town Texas. So, if you have
Okay.
been in or grown up in a rural community, you will
Mhm.
understand this, but people naturally will help each other. It is a culture. And I believe
Mm.
that that culture is not dead in every single community. But I
No, no, it
think,
isn't.
back to your point in the beginning, I think the technology and the AI sometimes trying to plant little ideas in our heads that people are not for us and they're against us. But I'll give you an example. So,
No, absolutely.
um, I love the bins, the garbage bins, right? I'm
Yes.
always putting out my garbage bins, and my days always change, but we've been on pre-podcast calls when I take my bins to the road. Well, they are changing the company. And so the company's changing and the old company is coming to pick up the bins and then the new company is going to drop off the new bins. Okay. So we had a schedule. It was on the city website, community website, or whatever. And I screenshot it and it was supposed to be this week. And I don't know what happened. Life happens, right? Again, back to the
Mhm.
plan. Everybody has a plan, but executing the plan truly is never going to happen the way that we want it
Yep.
to. Well, my trash and my recycle got picked up, so I was bringing my bins to the front of the house, and the neighbor, who doesn't talk to me very often, but so sweet. He's always helping me, like, chip away the ice on the street in the winter and stuff, right? So he's
Mhm.
so sweet.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he was he was like, "Ma'am," from across the way, and he was like, I talked to the people who are picking up and dropping off, and I think it's better for you to leave your trash bins by the road because I think they're coming tomorrow to get them." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's interesting. This is what it said on the city website." And he was like, "Well, I think somehow something got messed up." Okay, so I leave my bins out, and I'm like, "All right, this is gonna be awesome." Well, yesterday I was sitting here and I saw them picking up the bins, and then out my window I saw him
Mm-hmm.
go out of his house and walk to the neighbor's house across the street beside him,
Yeah.
and he went and got their bins from the, back garden, the backyard, and brought them to the front, and he was doing that for all the neighbors on the street so that they would not be forgotten with their bins, and so I think
Amazing.
there is this idea that people aren't kind because on social media, people are not kind, but I think
I think
that they
there is
are.
less people that are to that level of kindness.
Really? The trash
Um,
bin level of kindness?
yes.
Really?
Yes.
That is
If
such a
we're looking at
simple
the
freaking
majority,
thing.
as
That's
it,
just
in the
basic human
majority,
consideration. Do you not think?
yeah, but I think lowering it down a bit.
You're being hesitant here. I wanna know why. Tell me.
I'm being hesitant. How am I being
I
hesitant?
can't I can sense it though. It's like, is it gonna be the Texas US culture versus UK culture? Because
It
you and
could
I have
be. It could
talked
be.
about this
I think,
before.
but at the same time, I have seen it in the States, very similar behaviors. What I look at is when we look at being helpful and supporting others, I think of those big
Why do they have to be big?
contributions.
They don't have to be
Hold
big because a pebble and a pebble and a pebble and a pebble make a
I will
mountain.
get that. I will get
Okay,
that.
I'm
I
here.
will
I'm gonna
get there.
drink
You
some
drink your
water while you're
drink.
getting there.
You drink your drink.
You think it's water, it
The
might be I'm just kidding.
I'm no, I didn't say water. I just said drink your drink. You can drink whatever you want from that mug.
I can on the podcast? No.
It's up
Go
to you
ahead,
what
Rick.
you
Go
drink.
ahead,
No
Rick.
one said. No one knows. Um. So
I'm drinking water, guys. Let me just say this now. I'm having some alkaline water. Rick, stop. Stop making them think crazy things.
look, you're the one that thought it was crazy. I just said drink your drink. Um. No, I'm thinking is when I look at people as a whole, majority of people, I think there is a
There's that
like
hesitancy.
awareness of certain
Yeah, because they're
little
so
things that they
caught
can
up in
do,
their
like
own
sim-
self.
yeah, simply um, uh, holding the door open for somebody.
I always do.
You always do, but the amount of times that I
So
have
why do you think that
had
is?
someone that hasn't, and I've had to push the door open
Why do you think
because,
that is?
as you said, people are very involved in
I think
themselves.
either they're self-involved, they are not aware of their surroundings, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that whatever culture you're in is cultivating that inside of you. So if you are around people who aren't aware and who are not used to being kind in small
Mm,
ways, then you
mm-hmm.
become a mirror image of those people. And if
I
you are
completely
around,
agree. And
yeah,
I think that there is a large chunk, especially in, um, I would say cities, large cities where there's a lot of movement, everybody's out for
I just don't
themselves and stuff.
understand. Like,
They like certain basic. It's
it's,
like getting on and off the public transport.
mm-hmm.
That like if you look at the likes of Japan,
See it, say it, sort of.
Japan, yeah, CSA is sort as Tish knows. Um, in Japan, they have a structure set up that people who
Sure.
are getting on stand here, people getting off go this way,
Okay.
and everybody abides by that. And it is the
Okay.
cultural thing.
Yeah, it's the expectation.
It's the expectation. The amount of times, because with where I work now, I'm getting public
Sure.
transport, and I've experienced it. I've been on this route for years. I used to take it
Right.
for uni, so I've seen it all the time. But the amount of people that try to get on public transport while others are trying to get off
Mhm.
is mind-boggling. Like there's this fear of I'm gonna miss my my tram or my bus or whatever it is if I don't get on. But the thing is, there is 5 people trying to get off.
Sure,
You
before you
trying to
can get
get
on.
on is stopping that flow, and
Well,
it's just consideration
so
of
don't you think
kindness
a little bit of that
to
is experience? Like in that situation, if you, and this is true, I didn't know all of the rules in public transport when I came to Manchester or London. It was something that
Mhm.
I had to learn. But I think also I'm very aware of watching people's behaviors and
Yeah.
trying to learn what is acceptable, I guess. And that again goes back to my neurodivergence. But I think what's interesting is kindness fosters kindness, is really what I want to say. And
Yes. Yeah, I
kindness is
agree with
free.
you.
And to your point, it doesn't have to be that I'm helping someone move house. I mean, I
No,
would. And if I'm driving by and I'm like, oh, there's Jace's friend's parents, I wonder if they need help. Absolutely. Like, if I know and I see someone struggling, I think that's the question. If you see someone struggling, why would it be okay to just pretend like they're not and keep walking? And that struggle
Mhm.
could be moving house, it could be the trash bins getting missed, it could be opening a door, it could be someone saying, "Ma'am," like on the last episode, I think I shared, "Ma'am, please can you call my phone? I lost my phone."
Exactly.
That's so simple and it's for free. And I think because kindness fosters kindness, why it needs to happen in the classroom, it needs to happen at the market, it needs to happen when you go for your weekly
Everywhere.
grocery shop, it needs to happen everywhere. And I think it's so interesting that we have to do research
Mhm.
to prove that kindness and small acts of kindness are going to improve our lifespan and our community. We have to
It
research
has
that?
it's the fact that I agree with you. The fact that we have to research it to actually accept it, but at the same time, it's so blatant because there is so much like
Is it
I don't want to say the word hatred,
is it
but there
going
is
to
so
be
much like negativity going around
There
that if
is,
someone's
but
negative, it's going to make
negativity
other people
begets
negative.
negativity. Exactly. You
Yeah, so it's
become
going to be there are emotions that we're choosing to have. It's just like we allow negativity to consume us
well,
more
that's a
than
personal
kindness.
problem. I'm being completely serious. If
Yeah,
you are not checking your own personal self at the mirror with that, that is a personal problem and you are just multiplying that problem across. So I was going to say, is small acts of kindness and being kind to people, is that going to become an art? Like we have to learn the art of being kind to each other? That
I don't
seems
think it's I
so
don't know
weird.
it's not the art of being kind. It's the understanding your emotions more than anything.
Well,
So, for example, we let's take for example we're driving along or you're driving along, I'm driving along, and someone cuts you up.
yes.
You have a moment
Oh, you're
of
right. This tells a
frustration.
whole lot about a person.
It you have a moment of frustration. You can let that fester inside, you can hold on to it,
Mhm,
or you can release that thing.
mhm.
And majority of people, including myself, and this is something that I am learning more and more about myself, especially behind the wheel, is just releasing it. I saw an amazing video that really showed the potential we can have as people. And it was a taxi driver, I think it was an Uber driver in either Australia or America, where a car literally decided, I need to get to this parking space and cut the taxi up, and they had to slam the brakes on. And this taxi driver had a passenger as well. Now, that taxi driver could have beeped his horn, blasted off, cursed, all that kind of stuff. But he just sat there, breathed, and smiled.
Mhm,
And what happened after? That car in front that had cut them off went and parked up. The guy continued driving, and he ended up having a laugh and a joke with the passenger.
mhm.
We're not here to like diss anybody or kick off or have bad energy, because at the same time, if that driver had more negative approach to it, that would have been passed on to the passenger,
100%.
which would have gone on to something
When you
else.
understand energy, which
We talk about quite a bit.
listen, Brian, the last episode with Brian, he has challenged me to be on TikTok and just post it, right? And
Hmm.
so one of the things that he talks about, well, he talks about so many things, but when you understand energy and you understand that there's a transfer of your energy to someone else in your field of energy, that's even when you're at the store. That's when you're posting on social media. I talk about that a lot. I don't want to know the energy behind a post, but a lot of times I can read people's energy, which is a little scary because I will be able, and this is again neurodivergence, probably a little trauma, childhood trauma thrown in there. I can kind of tell when people are being unkind, but they are disguising it as kindness, or if they aren't coming out with a complete story. And I think it's so important for us to be self-aware of the energy that is happening within ourselves because it is multiplying based on who we're around. And the same thing goes like in schools, you think about it when kids are bullying another kid, there's one bully and then there's another and then there's another, and it's like they're ganging up on the one kid. Sometimes
Hmm.
I was that kid, truly. Sometimes I
Yeah.
was that adult. I think it just doesn't take any extra time or any extra money to be kind to other people. And we've gone on for a long time on this topic. I don't know how. I think it's because you told me that I couldn't time you anymore. So, but you can't be kind to others unless you're kind to yourself.
Yes.
You cannot.
Yeah, completely agree. And it is very much of how we control that energy that we're going to release to others. It's too easy to pass on frustration and anger and negativity,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, because we've allowed ourselves to get too comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's it. Complacent. I wouldn't even. Is it comfortable for people to be unkind? Do they feel comfortable in that place? I would argue that they don't.
Because no, uh, do they feel comfortable to be unkind? Did you say?
Yeah, is it comfortable for someone
Yeah,
to feel unkind? Because I don't believe that. I believe
it's
their
no, it's
unkindness is because they are so uncomfortable with themselves.
yeah. I would agree. I agree with that. What I'm saying it's comfortable is because it's like muscle memory. It's
Right.
just
So they're just
easy
on
to
co-pilot.
yeah, that it's just easy to do that. Therefore, they're comfortable just to do that
Well,
and just let that happen and then feel uncomfortable straight after for being in this energy. Whereas if we were to be more kind and thoughtful and considerate, then that becomes the comfortable muscle memory approach.
sorry, I'm not
Well,
laughing at you. My brain's always like 3 steps ahead.
it always is. It always is. And I'm playing
I
catch up.
I don't mean to be. My brain says it's sorry.
It's your listen, it's your ADHD. I
I just
have
have something
no issue.
fun for you.
Go on.
And I'm looking at the time because we have been recording for almost an hour. And I think you didn't
Wow.
get to do your second story because we spent so long talking about kindness.
I've forgotten what my second story
Good.
was
I'm
now.
glad. I'm glad. That's okay. We'll do your second story for the next time. This is Juicebox Confessionals with Tisha and Rick. And these are the light, silly ones I have for this week. I'm not sure why you're confused. Why are you confused?
Because I'm now trying to remember what my second
No,
story
no,
was.
we can't focus on that. We're gonna save it for later. If you think of it, we'll do it.
Yeah,
But
I can't
I
remember. You've got me on Juicebox Confessions now, so you might as well.
okay. What was
I'm
your
ready for my
most
Juicebox.
we should, you know what? Oh, we should
I've gone
have
from soapbox to jukebox.
we should mail out juice boxes with the Play at 3 logo. Oh, that's so fun. Why are you laughing? I want
Just
to.
these. all I'm imagining is these very
Yes, the little
dark blue,
tiny ones.
almost black
Yes, with a little
packaging with the
straw.
logo.
And it has a prize with it. Why is this? This is a kind thing that we're doing.
It is. I'm finding it an amusing thing. I think if we end up going to a conference
We should give out
and
juice
promoting,
boxes.
we should just give out props of juice boxes with the Playhead 3 logo on, and on the other side it says Juice Box Confessions.
Sorry, I am looking out my window a lot because I can't tell you where I live. If you know where I live, then that's fine. But where I live, literally
America.
in my backyard is this large music festival, and I'm not even kidding. It is huge. I have heard the music since probably 7 a.m. this morning, and it's loud. And now all the people want to park in my driveway and on the street, and I am about to go make sure that doesn't happen. Although
Okay.
that would be unkind, so I might let them park on the side of the street.
Yeah, you see, kindness. We were just talking about it.
Okay,
It's
they can
very easy to
can
get into.
they can park right there, but they can't block my driveway.
As long as they don't block you in,
Exactly,
because then
exactly.
that's an
That's a
unkind
that
thing from
would
their side.
well, then I would be unkind. I'm
But then
still
that's the negative.
hold on, hold on, Rick, hold
gone
on,
and
Rick.
had a whole
Rick,
topic,
listen,
and now
listen.
Tish
Because
gone
I'm gonna
completely the
explain
opposite
it.
way.
Some of the people listening are gonna understand this. I am kind,
I
1,000%.
completely agree with
I
you.
sometimes think, to my detriment, I can be too kind to people.
Yes.
I'm also real fiery. So if you don't know it about me, I'm an Aries and a Sagittarius. And if you cross me or my people, then yes, I'm not going to be that kind. If you block me in my house, we're going to have an issue. Okay. I mean, I am kind, though. Listen, I think you know that. I'm just digging a hole for myself like you
You're
normally
digging
do.
you a
I've
huge. Yeah,
switched
it's usually
roles with
me.
you, actually. Okay.
Yeah, you have. You are digging the
So,
holes now.
what is the most this one's a good one, and I will answer this with you. So these
Okay,
aren't just
go
for
for it.
you. I will also answer them.
Go for
What
it.
is the most unhinged childhood snack combo that you would eat and still secretly defend?
So I went through a little bit of a phase, not childhood, but more university
Uh-huh.
phase. I'll give you two. The first one was because my uni course meant that I had lectures at 9 o'clock every day, and I didn't live on campus or anything, so I had to commute in during rush hour. So I had to get that up early, which was for someone that's 18, getting up at 7 o'clock every day and being like, "Oh, I've got to go to school" or whatever. You're tired. You just don't want to. So before my lecture, I always went to the cafeteria and I got a bacon and sausage barn, which, for those who aren't familiar with what that is basically like, in a way, a
Sandwich.
burger bun
Yeah.
sandwich with sausage and bacon, and usually I'll have a sauce of ketchup or brown sauce, and a can of Relentless, which is the size of like your Monster
Mhm.
energy drinks,
Mhm.
but I don't know if you have Relentless in the States.
Mm-mm.
Don't know. But basically it was another brand of energy drink, and it's the size of a Monster can. And I would consume that at like 8:30 before my lecture at 9. So imagine a big energy drink
Mhm.
can.
I
And
don't need to imagine. I've
that
done
would
it.
essentially, I would think that would get me through the first couple of hours of my lectures. However, I was still falling asleep at 9:30 after consuming it.
Mhm.
But I
Well,
will still stand by that it works.
sometimes when people who have slight levels of ADHD consume caffeine, it has the opposite effect. So that's probably why you were
Yes,
sleeping.
yeah, that's probably why. The other one, though, and it goes back to, we're referencing Brian's video a lot. He mentioned about having the same meal over and over and over again.
Oh, definitely.
After I finished uni, I was learning to code. I was actually building my first application. And because I was in a mentality of, I want to learn this, I want to build this, I'm having fun, I would go for the basic snack just so I had something to eat at lunch, which was a packet of crisps, most likely cheese and onion, and crisps is chips for those in America.
Love those.
Um, cheese and onion, a can of Coke, full fat, and one of those mini Chicago town pizzas.
Mhm.
And that would be it. And I would have that every day for lunch.
So I have 3, and I'm not gonna tell you the backstory. If you wanna know the backstory, you'll have to ask me. I'm not gonna tell you the backstory. I'm just gonna tell you unhinged childhood snack combo that I would secretly defend. This was long before the lemon chips that Lay's put out, but I would eat Lay's basic potato chips, um, or crisps with
Thank
dill
you.
pickles. Just a dill pickle on the chip. Loved it. It was very, like, caviar-esque for me, but that was one of my snacks. A second snack that I would eat as a kid would be a tortilla warmed up flour tortilla warmed up in the microwave with, butter and sugar, but then to change it up, sometimes I would instead use mustard and roll it up. So good. I know. I knew you'd make that face. And then my third, little duo was when I was right out of high school going to uni. I also commuted, and I would keep these frozen mini sausage breakfast sandwiches,
Mhm.
in the freezer with, the fake orange juice Sunny D, the little
Yep.
tiny ones. So I would warm one
Mhm.
of those up in the microwave. I'd grab my Sunny D, and then I would be off driving to my classes. So I feel like those are a little unhinged because I would not eat. I mean, okay, rewind. I would not eat the last combo, the orange juice and the sausage
Mhm.
sandwiches, but I do still eat pickles with Lay's, and I
Nice.
will still sometimes put mustard on a tortilla and roll it up and eat it.
Here's a very, very quick question for you. Did you ever have, and I'll word it in the American terminology,
Mhm.
a chip sandwich?
Yes, I know what you're talking about, where you would put, potato crisps on the sandwich and then put the bread on top.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Who didn't? If you didn't, you
Mhm.
need to try it. It's
You
so
need
good.
to try it. It's amazing.
I love the Doritos. I love to do that. There are some specific chips that are gonna be better
They're
with
oh
that.
yeah, they're gonna be perfect. What about fish finger sandwich?
I don't know what it is.
Okay. Fish
I wanna
fingers.
know though, is it like the little
Fish
fish
fingers.
sticks? Little fish sticks?
Yeah, basically it's
Okay.
fish inside in a breadcrumb batter.
Yeah, okay, so a fish
So
stick,
we call them
but with
fish
a
fingers,
sandwich?
and you put it in yeah, you have it
Oh,
as a
that's
sandwich.
interesting. I've
It
never done
is
that.
I would definitely, if you've never tried it, and Tish, you need to try it. Get some fish sticks. We
You
call
know
them
I
fish
will.
fingers,
You know I
and
will.
have it in a sandwich. I've had that so many times. It is amazing
Okay, I have 2
with
questions
some
for
red
you.
sauce as well.
I
Or you
have
could have tartar
You know
sauce.
what? The next episode, we should do, the thing that we did at Wakelet once. I'll give you a list of American things to eat, and you give me a list of, like, UK things to eat. I have a little section at my store that has all of that and,
As long
like
as you're not making me have Takis again.
That's so good. Okay, if your life could only have one retro sound effect all day, every day, whether it
Ooh.
is a mistake or a success, what would your sound effect be? Would it be like the
There's
the VHS tape rewind? Would it be the modem connecting? What would it be?
I've got mine. I've
Okay,
got
what
mine
is it?
straight away, which is this is my childhood, and it gives me goosebumps every time
What?
I hear it. The PlayStation 1 startup music
Okay.
with the Sony and the PlayStation. It's got to
Yeah.
be both. You can't have one or the other. It's got to be both.
Yeah.
And that, for when something successful happens and that kicks in, you're just like, yes.
For me, it's gonna be the Nintendo coin noise.
Okay.
Okay.
The Game Boy one, is it,
Well, no, 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 no.
or the SNES or NES version? Which, by the way,
The
Amanda Marcia
original.
actually confirmed that it is that,
Okay.
because we had a conversation a couple of weeks back on it,
Okay.
and you never called it the NES or SNES.
Okay.
So
Well,
thank
I
you,
didn't
Amanda, for
call it
backing me
that,
up.
but I do trust Amanda. Okay. So, this one's a funny question. What is the most Tisha coded thing you've ever done? And then I'm going to answer what is the most Rick coded thing I've ever done.
What do you mean, Tisha coded
Like,
thing?
what thing have you done that is like more something that I would do, but you've
Oh,
done it?
jeez. Oh,
So for me, it
crumbs.
was digging a hole just now with my
Yeah.
words. That was
Yes.
definitely a Rick-coded
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, I would
I
definitely be
also,
digging
before
myself
this
too many
call,
holes.
before we recorded, I'm sorry, before this podcast, I said something to you like, I need to go real quick. I'll be back in 10 minutes because I need to go make food. And that is something that you have told me in the
I
past. So
always
yeah,
do. I
very
always do
Rick-coded.
constantly.
What about for you?
What have I done that you do? I've noticed myself saying y'all more.
Good.
And
Honorary
frickin'
Texan.
A, which is really
I
bothering
don't.
me now that I'm realizing that I've actually been saying
Oh,
that quite a
good.
bit
Oh, good.
because it's making me more American. Well, do I
More
say more
American? I thought
American
you
or
wanted to
more
be
Texan?
American.
Well, no,
American,
isn't it
Texan-American.
Texan? I'm becoming more Texan rather
I
than
think
more
you are
American.
might be more Texan than me, actually, and I feel like
Well,
I'm
we've already justified that.
more of a Brit than you. I
Yes.
do listen to British ASMR lately, and I'm like, where are you from? Let's be friends. Okay, Rick, that's what we have for this week. It is the
Oh,
week of Thanksgiving and
yes. What are you
American
thankful
Thanksgiving.
for?
Well, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for the podcast. I'm
Oh,
thankful for all of our listeners. I am thankful that we get to have an episode the week of Thanksgiving where we broke away sadly from all of you over there. Kidding. No,
hold
it's
on. That's exactly what your son does when
I
he's
picked it up
talking
from
to me.
him. I
The
know.
colonizer or whatever he calls me.
He loves joking. But because it's Thanksgiving week, I do want to shout out all of our listeners because we are so thankful. If you've listened,
Yes.
if you have been part of the Play at 3 podcast as a guest, as a listener, as a commenter, as a supporter, we just want to say that we're so, so thankful for you, your
Yeah.
presence here, and for really just tuning in with us, watching our short form
Support
videos. If
everything.
you do, supporting us, supporting the book. I think this is a great time to say that. I do want to shout out one particular listener, and I want to talk specifically, I believe, to the women who are listening to the podcast. And this was sent to me earlier. And I just really this resonated with me a lot. And so I want to share it. So I am thankful for all of the females in ed tech out there, the female educators that I've connected with, especially the neurodivergent learners and leaders that we've connected with. So this quote says, many women succeed when they stop forcing neurotypical productivity. And that resonated with me a lot because I think that so many of you out there listening, that will resonate with you, whether you are a woman or a man or whatever, you are neurotypical. And so you understand forcing yourself into a neurotypical productivity box, if you will. And then I opened a book that I had on my desk and it says, and I'm going to sort of paraphrase it. If you attempt to be part of an organization, an association, or a family that neglects to peer into you to see what you are made of, they are actually failing to ask what makes you run. And when one or a person does not put effort to challenge or encourage you in a positive manner, then your ability to thrive and create is diminished. I want you to remember to surround yourself as we end 2025, to surround yourself with people who are going to make you better. Surround yourself with people who are going to peer in to see how you run, how you operate, what your passions are, what makes you thrive, and do the exact same thing back to other people. And that is my call to action for all of you listening. Just a little bit of kindness is going to go a long way.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Tish.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today. Until next time, I guess we'll see you again very soon on the Play at 3 podcast.
Bye, everyone.